Yo creo en un futuro con el aire más limpio.
Yo creo que trabajando de la mano con las comunidades logramos desarrollo y prosperidad.
Yo creo que con ética y transparencia ganamos todos.
¿Por qué estamos transformando vidas? Porque en cada kilómetro de gasoducto vemos la oportunidad de dejar un legado positivo en nuestro planeta, sabiendo que juntos estamos construyendo un mundo donde la energía no solo impulsa empresas y máquinas, sino que también empodera sueños. Porque trabajamos para aportar el cierre de brechas sociales, la prosperidad y el cuidado del medio ambiente, con un actuar ético y transparente. Porque la sostenibilidad es un pilar de nuestra estrategia corporativa y es a partir de ella que actuamos. Porque durante 2023 avanzamos en la consolidación de un modelo de gobernanza con una perspectiva de sostenibilidad que nos permite tomar decisiones y gestionar los riesgos relacionados con la perdurabilidad empresarial con un actuar ético y transparente. Porque al mismo tiempo que descarbonizamos nuestra operación, llevamos gas natural como energía para que otras industrias también lo hagan. Porque en 2023 hicimos una apuesta por el fortalecimiento de capacidades y habilidades de nuestro equipo, valorando a cada persona por sus talentos. 431 corazones latiendo por un propósito común. También avanzamos de la mano con las comunidades, generando prosperidad, siendo aliados del desarrollo en los territorios, construyendo relaciones duraderas. Hoy, más que siempre, creemos en una transición energética justa, sostenible, ordenada y competitiva, impulsada por la energía del gas natural. Nuestras metas para este 2024 continúan. A ti, gracias por hacer parte de una TGI cada vez más sostenible. Conoce los resultados de los cuales también haces parte en nuestro informe de sostenibilidad 2023. Adaptación inteligente, energía sostenible. Nuestro compromiso en movimiento. El cual será tu principal referente de consulta sobre #nuestra gestión TGI. Escanea el código QR o visita nuestra página web www.tgi.com.co/sostenibilidad/informes de sostenibilidad.
Good morning. My name is Karen Guzman, and this is the statement for results. Welcome to our conference, TGI Cálidda, for the first quarter 2024. This conference will be carried out in Spanish and will have simultaneous translation, and it has been programmed. The reports were sent yesterday. The call for today will be led by Monica and the finance director of Cálidda. We also have the participation of other officers of those two companies. So therefore, we will urge you to write your questions down. Once the TGI presentation is completed, we will continue to questions. So I will give the floor now to Mónica Contreras. Welcome, Mónica. Thank you, and good morning to everyone. It is a pleasure for me to really submit the results of TGI, which report is the first quarter 2024. This is basically these are basically the relevant facts. The business results during the first quarter, TGI delivers good results. The results are very good. And as you can see, income grows around 30% vis-a-vis the same quarter of the previous year. Here, it is important to know that these figures and these comparisons that we are placing here are in dollars, given that the first quarter of the previous year the business was dollarized. So what we're trying to do is to make a comparison that it would be linear between dollar and dollar to be able to read properly these results. So we're now going to talk about the results in dollars in the first quarter of 24. So income growing around 30%, operating profit, which grows quite fast because income grows and revenue grows, and we'll see the sources of revenue we receive from thermal business during the first quarter. We had the Niño phenomenon. We are controlling thoroughly cost and expense. So we were able to grow operational profit by 24% and have an EBITDA by 27%, which means growing by 27%. You can see here the impact of financial expenses. You can see here that there are three. The growth is 197.6% with a cumulative $34 million. And those $34 million, we include everything related to coverage, or the $16 million that we have there. The bond, which represents $8 million, the deal that we had to conduct with the Grupo de Energía, which amounts to $14 million. So we do have an impact in financial expense that is growing and that we had foreseen in the previous call. We knew that net financial expenses would grow and therefore net profit is reduced to 28 million. And the decrease is 31.7%. But it is important for you to understand that this net profit that we're showing here exceeds, in any case, net profit in our budget that we had foreseen in around $1.7 million versus that budgeted. So these net financial expenses are really reflect the regulatory changes with relates to the rate that we have talked to you about in the past calls. And here you see them reflected on how they have impacted the business. We do feel quite proud of the way we're managing the business at an operating level. We will continue working with the government so that they can talk about the transport methodology in place that we have talked about, the legal life vis-a-vis the cost of this hedge that we need to, that you've seen reflected with respect to Resolution 702, which was a continuity of Resolution 171. What else we would like to highlight during this quarter? We closed the collective bargain. So this is the first time that a collective bargain agreement with a for mixed term. Many of the attributes and many of the benefits that go all the way to 2025, and some of them to 2028, and others will expire in 2025. But for us, it was a good collective bargain. We managed to include 83% of the workers of the company. We're talking about 374 collaborators, which is that really receive this benefit, where education was a very important topic, also housing, food, and quality of life. With respect to expansion, I was mentioning that we are showing very relevant results this first quarter. And further along, we will talk to you about contracting. But from the pillar of expansion, we have very good contracting, which was done in firm, dispatch to thermal plants as a result of the Nino phenomenon and all the work on contingencies and invoicing due to gas losses allow us to achieve this level of revenue, which is a very positive result for the business. Revenues grows 29, almost 30%, as I mentioned at the beginning, and we were able to reach this figure that you see here, 7.8 million. With respect to regulations, I think we have five priority projects. The most important project in this regard relates to all the work that we conduct with Craig and with the Ministry of Mines and Energy and the national government. That for us is significant for the business. And this is a fundamental part of what needs to happen with the TGI business. And we have worked in other initiatives, such as including the supply plan of natural gas and some projects that are vital for us for 2023 to 2030, and also the acceptance of TGI's proposals to flexibilize gas transport, which was required to provide service to the gas demand during the El Niño phenomenon. With respect to transformation, let us remind ourselves that in this pillar we took significant strides. We see here everything related to efficiencies that are kept in the business, and all that related to innovation. So in this pillar, we were able to have positive impact in pilot programs that should bring relevant efficiencies once we roll out these pilot programs. But in this first quarter, we were able to roll out the first predictive maintenance pilot program, which is quite relevant, and all those analytics in gas compression stations, especially those in Miraflores with 5 specific units. We would like to escalate this pilot program to gas compression stations in Vasconia, which would mean other 5 stations. And there is an important capture in terms of efficiencies for TGI. During this first quarter, we captured efficiencies. Well, the objective that we have is being able to reach the figure that you see on the screen of $4.56 million in efficiencies, and 2.5 of those are related to the budget of 2024 in terms of what we need to do with gas efficiencies. We have had to bear some important costs in terms of buying gas due to the prices, the market gas prices. And we also have relevant projects in terms of what it means as supply projects that will deliver further efficiencies with the shared services that we will be working on an initiative with inventory control and supply of gas. And we have 10 new initiatives, and these initiatives will be related to OPEX, most of them, but some of them will give us one-time impact. With respect to innovation, we will continue working on the biogas project, and we would like to mention with the SWIFT fund, what we're doing here, we're running the first phase of the biogas project. And this first phase, what we want to achieve is to have more potential in sustainable mobility into value chains in Bogota. One relates in the collection of organic matter, and other wastewater treatment plants. Therefore, we are closing this first quarter with relevant results with respect to the operational results, and we will continue working in this with also we will be working with regulations every month with the CREG when the CREG does not make any pronouncement on the methodology for gas transport. This isn't good for the business nor for the country, and we need to have certainty in terms of progress and the pronouncements that need to be made. We continue leverage the business with relevant growth, and Beatriz will talk to you about them, and all that related to cost and expenses, capturing efficiencies that will have to become organic within the company. So Beatriz, the floor is yours. Thank you, Beatriz. Thank you, Monica. As we showed in our operational chart, the first, what we would like to highlight growth of 74 cubic feet, which was given with respect to contracted capacity. This is 12.7 growth vis-a-vis infirm contracted capacity that we had during the first quarter of the previous year. And this figure, it's almost a record figure in the company in terms of contracted capacity. Why do we have that increase? This was really the result of being the market was anticipating to the El Niño phenomenon that had been announced. And the last semester of last year, it became evident. So to a certain extent, what we see here also the transport capacity also increased between these two quarters. Well, not in the same magnitude, but it is relevant to highlight this infirm contracted capacity. That contracted capacity, well, infirm contracted capacity, as I already mentioned, it relates to thermal plants grew volume during the first quarter vis-a-vis thermal plants. That was $2.3 million in excess during the first quarter. On the other hand, that important growth of $31 million in terms of revenue is being generated due to the fact that we also had to contract contingency transport because there was maintenance on the Cupiagua by Ecopetrol. And we also have revenues due to the invoicing of losses resulting from the fuel gas in the market. And there was also increase in parking business, which derived from El Niño phenomenon. So we have that significant increase that we have in terms of revenues as a result of the reasons stated before. Let us continue. The increase that we see on revenues or income, together with everything in terms of efficiencies and expense control, which is part of the strategy to have efficiency in operating costs. So that counteracts really the increase in cost due to macroeconomic aspects that have affected, mainly salaries. And so we have that increase of $15 million or 23.8 in terms of our operational revenue, I would like to highlight that the figure in dollars is quite similar to the last quarter of the previous year. We are therefore so we are maintaining that operational revenue in dollars, and the results of revenue allow to leverage the costs that I have already pointed out, and this has enabled us to have quite a level of EBITDA above 80% vis-à-vis the margin. And of course, as we can see here, the figure is higher in the first quarter than any other figure in dollars of the previous quarters of the previous year. In addition, we have an increase for an amount of $23 million. As Monica already mentioned, we had foreseen a substantial impact on the business with respect to the operations that we had to carry out in June of last year. And basically, as you already know, we were compelled to do two things. We had to do a cross-currency swap in 2020 for a bond that expired in 2023. And on the other hand, what we own to Grupo Energía de Bogotá, we had to convert that to Colombian pesos. Therefore, we had to generate a club deal with Colombian banking institutions, and that really affects the increase of net financial expenses, which is about 22.8 million if compared to the first quarter of the previous year. In addition to the difference in exchange rate, which reduced by $7 million revenues on this line item. So that's why profit really decreases by 31.7% to $28 million, when during the first quarter of 2023, we had a net profit of around $41 million. But if you can see, the good results that we've been able to show in operating results allow us to continue profit and EBITDA, net profit. And in addition to those three, that net profit is not really significantly reduced due to the good results that we show in the operating aspect. Now, lastly, Monica already pointed out that to guarantee that we have good coverage to pay financial expenses, we have deleveraged the business. We've been prepaying the debt that we have, and during this first quarter, we continue prepaying the club deal. In March, we paid around 200 billion pesos, which were about $51.5 million. And this has enabled us to maintain an appropriate coverage or hedge to lower the level of debt. Right now, it amounts to $850 million. And of course, due to the lower rates by the central bank and the recomposition of the debt balances, we've been able to lower the rate that we had talked about in the previous conference, which was around, which was 100 by 100 basic points. That's why the rate today is 16.8. So we continue taking advantage of the cash flow in an efficient manner. And this has enabled us to reduce, as I already explained, this leverage. And you can see in the graph, if we see the graph on net profit over EBITDA, it's 1.7, and interest coverage is, although it has gone down a little bit because due to the effects of financial expenses, is in 3 times. So our finances, as you can see, are quite sound. So I will now give the floor to Laura Villa, ASG. So we will talk about a sustainable route during this first quarter. And the great news is we were able to deliver 42 solar classrooms. We are benefiting over 22,000 children in our area of influence. And these children can use their solar classrooms and everything that we delivered with them. I will talk to you about progress in terms of during the first quarter, we continue making progress with respect to the environment, decarbonizing objective to 31 March would be we decreased by 4.9% during this quarter. So this shows us that we are on the right path. We continue with our two decarbonization project and also operational efficiency. And we lower we 2 flares we were able to bring them down, and they reduced by 83,000 equivalent tons. Last year we told to you that one of the main objectives for 2024 was a circular strategy, a strategy for circular economy, and we hope that in our next teleconference, we will talk to you about this policy on circular economy with respect to the social component. So we were able to deliver those classrooms. We have a rural gasification process in the municipality of Belleza. This would be the first gasification process on their taxes. And yesterday we knew that we were awarded this project so we can benefit a new community with our gas projects. In addition, we received the honoris causa award. This award relates to improving, and we submitted a project of safe infrastructure, especially working at heights, and we were awarded the prize, and we are very happy. With respect to governance, we identified 76 gaps. We conducted a study with our anti-bribe policy, and we identified 76 gaps, and we're implementing a new action plan. And in addition to this, we want to include a class action plan. And so during this first quarter, we've been conducting the diagnosis for TGI to be able to implement such risk. We also conducted a human rights workshops with vendors and contractors. And what I would like to highlight, we are implementing our human rights practices, and we've been acknowledged in the previous years and in all our supply chain, so as to have the best practices in our entire supply chain. And as you all know, our sustainability report was submitted, and it follows international standards. Having said this, we will now go to the Q&A session. Thank you, Laura. Let us answer then the questions that we have received. We have one concern from Lucas Haber Noguera. Could you give us more detail of those assets that comply with their useful life and when do they expire and what is the percentage?
Buenos días. Los activos que han cumplido
The assets that have completed under Regulation 171 of 2021 is Cusiana El Porvenir and La Sabana. Also, another asset, those that are operating a very small branch. Now, this investment, the amount really acknowledged, doesn't reach 3% of the assets. Well, acknowledged by the regulator as of now. The first significant asset is the gas duct to Barranca that will need to be replaced in 2026. Thank you, Luis Alfredo. We have another concern from Florencia Mayorga. Could you please clarify which is the interest coverage ratio includes coverage?
Sí, efectivamente
Yes.
las cifras que yo,
Yes, in
que
the
yo acabo de
figures that I have
presentar,
just showed,
incluye
they
básicamente
do
todo
include
lo que es tanto los intereses como el
both
diferencial de
interest
tasa de cambio que
as
se
also
genera
the
por
difference
la
in the
cobertura.
exchange rate
De
on
acuerdo.
account of coverage. Yes. She is also asking, we see a downgrade risk.
Pues nosotros recibimos y usted lo conoce muy bien, tenemos en este momento un outlook negativo.
We have a negative outlook right now. However, we've been talking to Moody's with respect to the challenges ahead, specifically, and as I mentioned already, we've been doing those prepayments to the debt, as I have pointed out, really with the purpose of improving indicators, especially EBITDA vis-a-vis financial expenses. And as I have already pointed out, although it has decreased, it's not below 3. It has always been around above 3. And in our forecast, we believe that we will maintain this 3-something%. Moody's visits program for June, and we hope we can show them our forecasts. And we would trust that with all the endeavors that we have carried out, and with what we've shown in terms of the business results, we would like them to revise that negative outlook. But that's really the decision of the risk rating agency and the risk committees. But we've been conducting everything that we have to have a sound indicators. I would also like to add something with respect to the risk, to the rating, Moody's rating. Moody's is quite clear on the way that on the disciplined and coherent manner that our business map, a strategic business map on how we've grown in revenues, how we're bringing efficiencies, so we continue transforming the business with innovation, and very thoroughly we are delivering results that is extraordinary. I would like to reiterate what I said at the beginning of my presentation. We are delivering profits well above what we had forecasted in previous months. for this first quarter of the year. And of course, we are not, well, we might be prone to some changes in methodologies, especially in transport. We would need to then see exactly what will happen with the forecast, the business in the midterm and the long term. If the transport methodology would be, although we have a very sound results, but if the methodology comes into force, we've been able to face this situation and we would be delivering extraordinary results. Thank you. We have no further questions, so we'll give the floor to the presentation of results of Cálidda.
Nunca he dejado que algo me detenga ni que me digan que no puedo por ser mujer. Asistí a unos talleres donde me enteré del programa Cálidda. Ahora puedo acceder a un financiamiento para poder implementar lo que necesito y poder pasar más tiempo con mi familia. Pude financiarme una lavadora. También pude financiarme una cocina que me ayuda muchísimo.
Muy buenos días y gracias por acompañarnos para revisar los resultados del primer trimestre 24 de Cálidda.
The first quarter results of Cálidda. There are three messages that I would like to convey during this presentation. The first one
organización continuamos en una fase de expansión. Este último trimestre hemos sumado cerca de 50,000 conexiones nuevas,
50,000 new connections, 260 new kilometers of networks. And as you will see further along the presentation, this is contributing to the growth of net profit and EBITDA. Secondly, we want to continue with the massification of natural gas. During 2023, we worked on a plan or on a package, an investment package, and an additional K that we had submitted to the government as a 5-year plan for the period 2022-2026. And this package was worked throughout 23. It has been approved by the government, and it will be added to our 5-year plan. Of course, it will be remunerated by the rate, and I will talk to you a little bit in the next slide. But this is a very important result because it allows us to continue betting on the country and continue expanding natural gas that brings so many good projects to Peru. And as we have mentioned, one of our growth vectors is increased penetration and vehicle natural gas with a specific focus on heavy-duty trucks. We have a minority participation, but we do believe we have a great potential. In line with that, we've worked on different strategies together with the Plus Petrol group. And this is beginning to render results. In the last year, we were able to have a 1,200 conversion. A heavy-duty vehicle really consumes 4 times the amount of a light vehicle. Having said this, let us continue to analyze the most relevant results. With respect to volume, we grew by 2%. This is basically leveraged into segments. On the one side, the vehicle segment, which is one of our growth paths. We added 30,000 vehicles between heavy-duty vehicles and light vehicles, and also household and trade. In 24-23, we have 207,000 new connections, and that has helped to this increase. With respect to connections and networks, we have 50,000 new connections and 260K. And as we have been mentioning in previous calls, we will continue showing results, but this will be lower. And this is really the concession is in a different mature. It has already reached a mature process, and in the next years we need to to complete lower connections. We are completing 1.8 million clients, but we estimate our potential is around 2.2, 2.3 million clients. So this expansion process will continue, but growth will be less because of what I mentioned. So, of course, due to the good results in terms of volume growth and the growth of complementary businesses that are not regulated, such as loans and connections, we have good EBITDA growing by 70%. Net profit grew with 6%. Now, with respect to ratings, local ratings are under review for this project. We have no final results yet. So the rating that we have is AAA. Let us go to the next view graph. With respect to this investment package, incremental investment package, as I showed you for 5 years, we were approved a 5-year plan with corresponds to 1,800 new K of we were able to submit an incremental package that has been worked with the government during 2023, which we're talking around additional 800 kilometers, which is about $70 million, and it has been approved by the regulator, by the Energy and Mines Ministry. And this is now part of our 5-year plan, which will be remunerated based on the tariff or the rate. The rate increase due to this would be around 3%. Let us go to the next view graph, please. Now, with respect to heavy-duty vehicles, this is one of our focus areas. Today, in the last year, we have 1,200 vehicles that we've been able to convert to gas. Here,
facilidades de financiamiento para poder, digamos, asegurar que principalmente las empresas logísticas puedan acceder a capital de trabajo que les permita hacer esta conversión. Esto se maneja con fondos de camisea, no de Cálidda. Cálidda cumple más un rol de orquestador, de estructurador, es el que busca, conecta, digamos, a los concesionarios.
Let's say to the sorry, I lost my volume. So we submit the opportunity, and by way of the funds, Carnicea funds, they can have this transaction and they can conduct their conversion. What are these programs about? We have a program in place which really provides access to financing without interest and can be repaid in 3 years, basically destined to conversion of engines. It also can be used for buying NGV buses, but it's really used for the conversion of engines. This program began recently. We have 60 buses, and we have disbursed more around 3 million. And another project is a subsidy with Camisea. We are giving around $10,000 to $15,000 to buy a new transport in natural gas. This is those $15,000 is the difference between a diesel to NGV. So we encourage savings on that incremental cost, and with that, the conversion of these vehicles. To date, we have converted over 400 vehicles. Our ambition really is to be able to double the demand volume in NGV for heavy-duty trucks. So the objective is by 2029 to have 31 million cubic feet per day. We have also received some awards during the past quarter. This endorse the work that we have conducted, and they do reflect our sound practices that we implement and improve on a day-to-day basis. So going into our financial performance operational and financial performance, I would like to mention that volume grew vis-à-vis 2023 by 23%. Is based on residential. There is a decrease, but it relates to stationality. During the last quarter of every year, we begin to have rain in Peru. Therefore, the dams increase and thermal plants, the consumption of thermal plants decreases. So that really so that the decrease that you see here is really relates to stationality. And with respect to competitiveness, our competitiveness is quite great in terms of residential or household tariff savings. It's about 40% vis-à-vis than our next competitor, and and savings with respect to oil, for example, are around 40%. With respect to operational performance, as I've said, we have 50,000 new connections. We have around 1.8 million clients, and we would like to highlight here that we have a greater participation of AV volumes in Cálidda. We began the expansion process with the most vulnerable population, which are C, D, and E. So therefore, in the future, we will be connecting higher income rate. This has a positive value towards the future because an AB clients tend to have 3 points of gas vis-a-vis one that only has one connection point. This will enable us to increase volume and tariff competitiveness towards the future. And as I already mentioned, we executed 260 kilometers of networks. We are even exceeding our commitments with the government in terms of deployment. So the closing of this quarter, we have around 17,000 kilometers of executed networks. With respect to financial performance, we grew net income with 60 billion. We grew vis-à-vis the previous quarters. You can see greater volume, greater tariff, incremental 4%, and also the contribution of non-regulated business such as loans or installations or connections. This also led to a net profit that grew by 6.5%. Something that we would like to highlight also when we compare the EBITDA margin in the past 12 months. If you see the photograph of the last, we were around 59.6%. So we've improved by 100 basic points. And this is also the result of the work that we have conducted in operational efficiencies. Let's move to the next graph, please. With respect to debt, we have our debt is 902 million. We have expirations for 50 million for this year. 20 million is a loan. There are other 30 million that are short-term, and these are the needs of cash that we've had because of the work that we conducted last year under the government plan. This program consisted on building networks that are remunerated by the government. Between the construction point and the payment point, there's always a term, and we had temporary needs of cash. But that will be reducing now. Financial ratio, we are below 4. And in terms of interest coverage, it's above 7, which is quite sound, as you can see. Now, if we look about the outlook for 2024, 950 kilometers of networks that we will build we expect to build this year. We have increased, we are adding 10,000 new connections vis-à-vis the previous quarter. Our EBITDA then consequently is growing vis-à-vis the previous quarter, and the net debt EBITDA ratio, we expect to have to continue with having it under 4. Thank you, Maria. Mario, we have no concerns to now. Let us wait a few minutes to see if we have any questions. No, we have no questions. So thank you, everyone, for your participation. And from our investment relationship team, we welcome any questions or concerns. Have a great day, and thank you.